What are you showing us here?
Well, this is a safety shelter. This is an Alabama-made shelter. It's made in Danville, Alabama. It's one of the oldest manufacturing storm shelter companies in the state of Alabama. It's a double-hulled polymer shelter with an all-aluminum door and frame. It's got a plastic weld, and so we consider this to be one of the strongest underground shelters available today.
Now, underground shelters, moisture seems to be a big problem with a lot of the older type shelters. How's that with these?
These are great. I've never had any complaint of moisture in these or the fiberglass shelters. Sometimes when you first put them in the ground and they have that temperature change, you might see that, if the ground's cold and your shelter's warm and you put it in, you might have some as you open the door and the cold air goes in. But once they adjust to the ground temperature, usually you don't see that anymore. Not with a fiberglass or a polymer.
And how far down in the ground? I noticed the door is got to be at the surface, obviously. But
The bottom of the door is at the surface, and we put this one down 5.5 feet. We anchor it with 5,000 pounds of concrete anchors, and then, well, I'll talk about our fiberglass shelters later because they go down a different height. But this one goes down 5.5 feet. Okay, this these pictures displayed. The reason we brought these is to show people what their shelter is going to look like when it's in the ground. What's my shelter going to look like? What can I expect? What's the dirt going to look like? And so we brought lots of demonstrations. Here you have a shelter where somebody put concrete over it. It's an underground shelter. Here's a poolside shelter. You can see the ones with the angled doors are meant to go on a hill. Like here's a hill. It just blends in with the hill versus putting one in flat land. If you put one in flat land, then you will have a mound. So we have the flat doors like this, and then the angle doors with the mound. So it just gives people an idea of what to expect once the shelter is installed.
is that an indoor?
These are the safe rooms that go in the garages,
Okay.
which we carry those
And we'll
too.
see that up here in a moment.
Yeah.
Question for you on where they're at. They're after years of being out in the yard. It's going to look like part of the yard.
Yes, it does.
All right. Now, if there's a disaster and the people are in there, let's say something falls on top of that door, how does anybody know they're there?
Well, I recommend every shelter we install, we register it with 911. We do the latitude and longitude, we do the GPS location, exactly where the shelter is, and so the 911 people have that on file and they know to look. The other wonderful thing about an underground fiberglass shelter is that you do get cell phone reception if you have it at your home. So we were in our fiberglass shelter from 6 o'clock at night till 3 in the morning on April 27th, and we were able to call out, we were able to track the storms that were coming in waves on our GPS and our radar weather on the phone. This is a large underground shelter here. It's a large fiberglass underground. We put this one down 5.5 feet, and again, it's meant to go in a hill, or it can go in the flat of the land, but you will have a mound. This shelter holds 10 to 15 people. It's got bench seating, which is very popular from shelters. It's clean, white, dry. You won't have condensation in this shelter. Your walls will stay bone dry. I saw a lot of the large shelters are very popular. This company also uses a fiberglass called Woven. It's a very thick, heavy weave fiberglass, and they use that in conjunction with regular fiberglass, so it really gives a lot of strength to the shelter. And you will notice that this shelter has a lot of ribbing on it. Those are fiberglass ribs. When you put a shelter in the ground, you're going to have ground movement, you're going to have water movement, and so that just gives the body strength. And this company really puts a lot of ribbing. And they put it on the top, the sides, the side walls, and the bottom. And these fiberglass shelters comes in 3 sizes. The large, this is a small. This is 4 to 6 people. That's 10 to 15. And this would be this is a small safe room. It's a 1/4-inch steel plate safe room. It's also made by Safety Shelter. These have an exterior locking door, bench, you can get a box. What we do is we install these in a garage or in a newly constructed home, and it has to be on concrete. They're meant to be inside, not outside. They need to be under a cover. And then we anchor bolt them with 5/8 inch wedge anchors. And these come, this is the smallest size. We have 4x5s, 4x6, 4x8, 4x12s, and 8x8s. I have a lot of people ask me, are these shelters as safe as an underground shelter? Some studies actually say that these are safer because you're not running outside to get in an underground shelter, not exposed. But ultimately, these shelters are really great for handicap or the elderly people who don't want to walk outside in the weather. They have handicap accessible doors open to the inside.
A lot of time there's wind, hail, and debris going on at the same time. The storm's coming.
That's right.
But, all right, if somebody wants to get up with you all, find out more about this, how can they?
This, we're on, the website is Lake Martin Storm Shelters, or you can call me at 256-794-8075.